You evil child of doom, why have you decided to cause me so much pain? I regret ever having you.
Papa, I'm innocent. Please believe me. Oluchi was the only child of her father. Her beauty radiates like the morning sun. She has beautiful eyes that captivate all that comes in contact with her. Her mother died mysteriously 2 years ago, which shattered her life as she was left alone in the world by her father, Obi, who was unconsolable from the grave. Oluchi believed her mother's death was not natural. Before she died, she was scared and constantly in tears, but she didn't tell her what was causing her so much pain. Tragedy struck one early morning when Oluchi left for the stream to fetch water, leaving her parents at home. On her way from the river, she met people gathered in their compound. It was Mama Nkim, her mother's closest friend, who broke the bad news to her. Whenever she brings up any discussion about her mother and what led to her death, her father Obi shuts her up or changes the conversation. For 2 years, it was only Oluchi and her father. Her father was so loving to her, and he did all in his power to make sure Oluchi was provided for. Obi called her one day to tell her he had decided to take a new bride to help in raising her due to his business. He's not constantly at home. Obi had an oil business in her mother's village. He spent days, sometimes weeks, over there. Oluchi was scared and worried about the new family her father was about to start. She was scared her stepmother might not treat her well, and her father would completely abandon her once he married the new wife. Few days later, Uremma moved into their house with her two daughters, who are just a little bit older than Oluchi. Oluchi was 14 years old, while Uremma's daughter Ada was 18 and Nneka was 16 years old. They both loved Oluchi and made sure she was comfortable and happy around them. Oluchi's fear disappeared as both Uremma and her daughters were nice to her. They all did chores together, ate together, and stayed out at night to tell each other stories. Obi was happy to see that everyone was getting along and Oluchi was taken care of. Whenever Obi returned from his business, he would tell Oluchi tales about his travel and how his business was doing. Oluchi looked forward to her father's stories every night. Uremma noticed that Obi spent so much time with Oluchi whenever he returns from his business. She encourages her daughters to join them at night and listen to his stories to make Obi love them more. But whenever Ada and Nneka join them outside for stories, halfway into the tale, they are fast asleep. Obi will tell them to go inside and sleep. Uremma started feeling a twinge of jealousy about how Obi treats Oluchi. She started seeing everything as a competition between Oluchi and her daughters. One evening, as they were going to watch the masquerade at the market square, they all dressed up in their best for the outing. Uremma saw how beautiful Oluchi was, and she told her that she should go and change what she was putting on and that she looks like a masquerade they are going to see. Her daughters laughed at her. That made Oluchi sad. Immediately Oluchi entered to change, Uremma locked her behind and left with her daughter. Obi came back that evening and met Oluchi alone at home. She told him what her stepmother did. Uremma was surprised to meet Obi at home when they returned. She fabricated the story and twisted lies against Oluchi. Her daughter supported her. Oluchi was shocked her father believed them and called her a liar. From that day, anytime Obi goes out for his business, Uremma and her daughter will turn Oluchi into their slave. She washes for them, cooks, run errands, while Uremma and her daughter will not lift a finger. Oluchi tried talking to her father about Uremma, but he wouldn't listen or believe her. Oluchi decided to accept her fate because her father would not save her. Mama Nkem was Oluchi's late mother's friend. She became her only hope for food, words of encouragement. Whenever her father was on his business and Uremma decided not to feed her, Oluchi would go to Mama Nkem's hut and eat. On the eve of the village New Yam festival, the whole village was getting ready for the big festival. Obi was expected to return that night. Oluchi had fetched water early in the morning, filled up all the pots in the house. She went ahead to collect some pots from their neighbors to fill them up so they won't run out of water during the festival. As rumor had it that during the festival, villagers don't go to the stream as it was a taboo. The river is usually lonely as nobody goes there during the festival. That night, Oluchi had finished her chores and was sitting outside waiting patiently for her father to return. Uremma came out, shouting, "You foolish girl, take this pot, go and fetch water for your father to bathe when he returns." Oluchi was surprised as she fetched water all through the day. She ran to the backyard. All the pots she filled up earlier were empty, and there was water on the ground. Uremma and her daughter had poured all the water in the pots on the ground and left the pot empty to punish Oluchi by sending her to the river that night. Oluchi was scared. It was dark and most people had gone to sleep in preparation for the festival the next day. As Oluchi walked in the dark that night, her body shivered in fear of darkness and the unknown waiting for her at the river. She pleaded with God to guide her safely on this vicious journey she had embarked on. As she took a step into the lonely dark bush path, she trembled in fear. She thought of the only person who could help her in this treacherous journey. Mama Nkem came to her mind. She hurried as fast as she could. Mama Nkem was startled to see Oluchi with a pot at that time of the night. Meanwhile, Obi returned not quite long after Oluchi left. He ate his meal and had his bath. He asked Ada where Oluchi was, as he had not set his eyes on her. Ada told him she had gone to see one of her boyfriends. Obi was astonished at what Ada said. He yelled for Uremma. She told him that's what Oluchi had turned into. Every night she would sneak out to visit her male friends. She went further to say that most times she will carry the water pot pretending to fetch water while she goes around the village with different men. She told Obi she had cautioned her to be like her daughters, but she refused. She was planning on telling him soon, but thank God he is here to witness it. Obi was foaming in anger while pacing the whole compound waiting for Oluchi. Oluchi explained how Uremma and her daughter emptied all the water pots she fetched earlier in the day to punish her by sending her to the river that night without considering the dangers out there to Mama Nkem. Mama Nkem was furious at Uremma's wickedness. Oluchi should follow her back and give Uremma a piece of her mind. Oluchi pleaded with her not to do that, that it will escalate things at home for her and her punishment will become worse. Mama Nkem agreed, gave her a pot of water. She walked her to a safe spot before she headed back to her compound. As Obi was pacing around the compound in anger with a long stick, he saw Oluchi approaching.
You evil child of doom, why have you decided to cause me so much pain? I regret ever having you.
Papa, why are you calling me such? Before Oluchi could understand what was happening, her father flogged her callously. She was hot and in pain. She went inside and laid on her mat in the kitchen. The next day was the festival. Everyone was excited and happy to go for the great feast. Oluchi was still hot with the bruises from last night. As everyone left, she went to her mother's grave and started crying. She asked her why she abandoned her in this wicked world of so much hatred. She went inside, took a knife, and headed towards her mother's grave. As she raised her hand to stab herself, she heard her name, Oluchi. Please stop. She turned and saw Mama came. She hugged her and took her to her hut. Mama came prepared some herb for her and gave her food. She told her to promise her she would never hurt herself again or think of taking her life. Oluchi promised her and left. Mama Nkem went to meet Uremma one early morning. She warned Uremma and her daughters to stop maltreating Oluchi, or she would ask Oluchi's grandmother to come and take her before they would kill her. Uremma told her it's better Oluchi join her late mother, or better still she can go and stay with her grandmother and leave them alone. After Mama Nkem's visit, Uremma and her daughter continued to treat Oluchi badly, accusing her wrongly, and Obi was completely on their side. He couldn't do anything to save her. As the festival unfolded in the village, Oluchi felt increasingly isolated and alone. She watched from a distance as families celebrated, wishing she could be a part of it all. Despite Mama Nkem's kindness, the weight of her father's betrayal and Uremma's cruelty pressed down on her like a heavy stone. One night, as she lay in the darkness of her hut, a voice whispered to her. It was soft at first, barely audible over the sounds of the night, but it grew louder, more instant. The voice spoke of ancient powers, of a way to make things right, to exact revenge on those who had wronged her. Driven by desperation and the hope of redemption, Oluchi followed the voice into the depths of the forest. There, she found herself standing before a strange tree. In the hollow of the tree, she discovered a small box. Inside the box lay a shimmering black stone, flushing with an otherworldly energy. The voice urged her to take the stone, to use its power to punish those who had caused her so much pain. With trembling hands, Oluchi grasped the stone. Instantly, she felt a surge of power coursing through her veins. She knew what she had to do. That night, while the village slept, Oluchi crept into Uremma's and her daughter's room. With a single touch of the stone, she cursed them, binding their fates to the darkness forever. The next morning, the village awoke to a scene of horror. Uremma and her daughters were found dead in their beds, their bodies twisted in agony. No one could explain what had happened, but whispers of witchcraft and dark magic spread like wildfire throughout the village. Obi was scared when he saw what happened to Uremma and her daughters. He was told that the spirit of her late wife was haunting him. Obi confessed to Oluchi that her late mother found out about him and Uremma. Out of anger, he pushed her and she hit her head and died. Oluchi was outrageous and felt a surge of power coursing through her veins again. She knew what she had to do, but a voice within her told her to forgive him. Obi was terrified seeing Oluchi beaming with such powers. He begged for forgiveness and promised to treat her well and stand by her side. Oluchi forgave her father, but she didn't see him the same way she used to while growing up. Something broke in her that made her hate him. Despite the tragedy that befell Uremma and her daughters in the village slowly returned to normal. The whispers of witchcraft faded, replaced by the bustling sound of everyday life. But for Oluchi, there was no going back to how things were. Haunted by guilt and the weight of her action, Oluchi wandered the outskirts of the village, a ghostly figure in the moonlight. The power of the stone she had wielded gnawned at her mind, whispering dark thoughts and tempting her with even greater power. One night, as she stood at the edge of the forest, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Mama Nkem, her face etched with concern. Oluchi, my child, what have you done? Mama Nkem's voice was a mist of fear and sorrow. I had to, Oluchi whispered, tears streaming down her face. They were, they were hurting me, Mama Nkem. Mama Nkem reached out and took Oluchi's hand, the one that held the cursed stone. With a gentle touch, she removed the stone from Oluchi's grasp and threw it into the depths of the forest. The power you seek is not the answer, child, Mama Nkem said softly. It will only bring more pain and suffering. You must find another path. With Mama Nkem's help, Oluchi began a journey of redemption. She sought out the elders of the village, begging for forgiveness and offering to make amends for her action. She was punished for what she did. Slowly, she regained the trust of the villagers, proving that she was no longer a slave of the darkness. But the stone she had wielded had not been destroyed. Deep in the heart of the forest, it lay dormant, its power waiting to be unleashed once more. And some sought to claim that power for themselves. As Oluchi found peace was threatened by dark forces, she realized that her journey was far from over. Mama came by her side. She vowed to protect the village from the darkness that lurked within and without, and to protect the people that are wrongly accused and maltreated. Knowing that the true test of her strength was yet to come. A few days later, after Mama Kem tossed the black stone into the river, it magically appeared inside Oluchi's hut. She decided to use the stone to bring peace to the village and justice to the oppressed. So the tale of Oluchi, the girl who sought revenge and found only darkness, became a cautionary legend passed down through generations, a reminder of dangers that lurk in the shadows of human heart. This tale teaches us that sometimes the revenge we seek might cost us more pain than the forgiveness we should have given. Thanks for watching. Kindly share your thoughts in the comment section.